Captain James Reeves walked through the corridors of Station Omega with Diana Clark beside him. The station was massive, built by dozens of alien species working together over centuries. Its halls were wide enough for creatures of any size to move freely. Some aliens floated in special chambers. Others walked on multiple legs. The air smelled of different chemicals mixed together, each race adding their own atmosphere to the station. Reeves felt his heart beat faster. Today would decide humanity's future in the Galactic Council. He had prepared for weeks. Diana Clark, humanity's main ambassador, looked calm on the outside, but Reeves could see the tension in her jaw. They both knew what was coming. The council chamber was a vast circular room. 53 species had seats arranged in a circle. Some seats held creatures with multiple eyes. Others held beings made of pure energy, contained in special force fields. The Krell sat in the highest position. They were tall, with hard silver skin and intelligent black eyes. The Krell had ruled the Galactic Council for thousands of years. Reeves and Clark took their positions in the center of the circle. Every eye in the room turned to look at them. Humans were young in the galactic community. They had only joined the Council 30 years ago. But in that short time, they had already caused problems. The Krell leader, named Vorthek, spoke first. His voice was deep and cold. The Council has gathered today to address a serious matter. The human species has proven to be a danger to galactic peace. We have evidence of human military attacks on Council-aligned worlds. Reeves stepped forward. Those worlds were being attacked by raiders. We protected innocent people. That is not a crime. You acted without Council permission, said a Vexi representative. The Vexi were small creatures with forearms. They controlled trade across half the galaxy. You used weapons against beings who were under Council protection. This cannot be allowed. Diana Clark raised her hand. Humans believe that protecting innocent people is more important than following rules. When children were dying, we acted. We had no choice. An Alterine rose to speak. The Alterines were fish-like creatures who lived in water chambers. The Council maintains order through agreements and laws. If every species acts on their own beliefs, there will be chaos. Humans do not understand this. They are too young, too wild. For 2 hours, the Council spoke against humanity. They listed every military action. They pointed out every time humans had ignored Council rules. They said humans were aggressive. They said humans could not be trusted with weapons. They said humans threatened galactic peace. Reeves tried to explain. He told stories of humans who had died protecting others. He spoke of human science and medicine that had saved millions of alien lives. He said humanity wanted peace, not war. But the Council had already made up their minds. Vorthek raised his hand. We will now vote. The motion is to ban the human species from the Galactic Council and remove all human military power from space. One by one, the species voted. The Krell voted yes. The Vexi voted yes. The Alterines voted yes. Even species that had traded with humans for 20 years voted yes. Some representatives looked away when they voted. Others looked Reeves directly in the eye, as if saying they were sorry but had no choice. When all the voting was done, the count was 53-0. The vote was unanimous. Diana Clark's face went white. She gripped Reeves' arm to steady herself. Vorthek spoke again. The human species is banished from the Galactic Council. You have 70 days to dismantle all military bases. You must surrender all weapons technology to Council authorities. After 70 days, any human military activity will be seen as an attack on the entire Galactic Alliance. You will be destroyed. Reeves felt the words hit him like a physical blow. Destroyed. The Council meant it. They had the power to do it. Humanity had maybe 100 warships. The Galactic Council had thousands. "This is wrong," Clark said loudly. "Humanity will not accept this." Vorthic's black eyes showed no emotion. "You have no choice. You have 70 days. Security moved forward." Reeves and Clark understood they were being removed from the chamber. They walked out with their heads up, but inside, they were both thinking the same thing. Earth would fall. Humanity's colonies would be conquered or destroyed. Human ships would be hunted down and eliminated. The journey back to Earth took 3 weeks. Reeves and Clark did not speak much during the trip. What was there to say? They had seen the future, and it was dark. When they arrived on Earth, news of the banishment was already spreading. Protests filled the streets. Some humans said they should surrender immediately and beg the Council for forgiveness. Others said humanity should fight until the last person died. Military commanders called emergency meetings. Scientists began working on new weapons. Religious leaders prayed. Governor Maria Santos called Reeves and Clark to a private meeting in her office. "What are our options?" she asked. Reeves was quiet for a long moment. "We can surrender. That will keep Earth safe. We can fight. That will mean our death. There has to be another way," Santos said. Reeves looked at Diana Clark. She looked back at him. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Clark said slowly, "What if we did not do what the Council wanted? What if we left Council space entirely? What if we formed our own alliance?" "That is suicide," Santos said. "Without the Council, we have no trade, no protection, no resources. We have intelligence," Clark said. "We have technology. We have courage. And we have the next 70 days to figure out how to survive." Reeves stood up. For the first time since hearing the vote, he felt a small spark of hope. It was dangerous. It might not work, but it was a choice. Humans had never been good at accepting defeat. "I will contact the outer colonies," he said. "If they unite with Earth, we might have a chance." Santos looked between them. She saw something in their eyes. Not certainty, but determination. "Do it," she said. "Gather the colonies. Form your alliance. But you must know that many humans will oppose this. We will be tested from the inside and the outside." Clark nodded. "Then we need to move fast. We have 70 days. We need to build something strong before the Council realizes what we are doing." The meeting ended. Reeves and Clark walked out into the bright sunlight of Earth. Above them, the sky was blue and clear. Reeves thought about the millions of humans on dozens of colony worlds. Most of them did not yet know that their lives had changed forever. But change was coming. In the next 70 days, humanity would either find a way to survive or they would disappear from the galaxy forever. Reeves and Clark began to work. The clock was running. Commander Rachel Gibson sat in her office at Station Delta, watching reports come in from human colonies across the galaxy. The banishment message had reached every settlement. Reactions varied. Some colonies wanted to surrender immediately. Others wanted to fight. Most were simply confused and scared. Gibson knew that Earth would need the colonies more than ever. Alone, Earth could not survive. But together, scattered human settlements across the stars might have a chance. She received a message from Diana Clark. The message was brief. Organizing secret meeting. Need military leaders. Location: Sanctuary Station. 7 days. Tell no one. Sanctuary Station was hidden in a nebula no one paid attention to. The station had been built by humans 50 years ago as a research facility. Now it would become something else. Gibson packed light and took a small personal ship. The journey took 5 days. She did her own flying, using old navigation systems that the Council would not track. When she arrived at Sanctuary, she found the docking area filled with military vessels. She recognized ships from the outer colonies. Inside the main conference room, Gibson saw faces she had not seen in years. Captain Marcus Torres came from the merchant colonies. He had spent his entire life trading between human worlds and knew every safe route through space. Dr. Elizabeth Hart arrived from the research station. She was the finest engineer humanity had produced, and her mind was always working on new problems. Young diplomat Kevin Park came from a border colony. He had spent years learning about alien cultures and languages. There was also Admiral William Cross, who had commanded the largest human fleet before the banishment order came down. Diana Clark stood at the head of the table. Her eyes looked tired, but her voice was strong. We have 70 days. The Council expects us to surrender. We will not. Instead, we will form our own alliance. An alliance of human worlds, independent from the Galactic Council. That is impossible, Admiral Cross said immediately. The Council has more power than we could imagine. They will destroy us. Maybe, Clark said. But we are fast. We are smart. And we are desperate. Desperate people sometimes do impossible things. Marcus Torres leaned forward. What exactly are you asking us to do? Contact every human colony, Clark said. Find out who will fight and who will surrender. Then bring them all here to Sanctuary. We will meet as one human species and decide our future together. No colony should be left behind. Kevin Park raised his hand. Some colonies will refuse. They will be too afraid. Then we convince them, Gibson said. We tell them that isolation means death. Together, we might survive. For the next 6 hours, they planned. Torres began mapping trade routes to every human colony. Hart started calculating what resources they needed to survive without council support. Park prepared messages to colony leaders in different languages and codes. Gibson focused on military readiness. We need ships. We need weapons. We need soldiers willing to fight. And we need to hide from the council, Clark added. They are watching. If they know what we are doing, they will act before we are ready. The meeting ended late at night. As people left the room, Gibson pulled Clark aside. This plan might not work. You know that, right? We might all die. Clark nodded slowly. I know, but we will definitely die if we surrender. At least this way, we have a chance. And that is more than we had before. Over the next 2 weeks, messages spread across human space. Some were sent on secure communication channels. Others were delivered in person by trusted pilots who knew how to avoid council detection. The message was the same. Come to Sanctuary Station. Bring your families if you can. Bring your ships if you have them. Come before the deadline. The response was mixed. Some colonies refused immediately. The leaders of a farming colony announced they would surrender to the council and ask for amnesty. A mining colony split in half, with some people wanting to fight and others wanting to give up. But others came. Small research stations sent their best scientists and equipment. Military outposts sent their officers and soldiers. Trading posts sent their captains and crews. Each day, more ships arrived at Sanctuary. Kevin Park worked with colony leaders who were hesitant. He used logic and emotion in equal measure. The council will take everything from you, he told them. Your ships, your technology, your freedom. Here, you can keep all of it. Here, you can choose your own future. Some were convinced. Others were not. But the numbers grew. 2 weeks before the deadline, Gibson stood on the observation deck with Marcus Torres. Below them, the docking bays were filled with human ships, cargo vessels, military cruisers, science ships, old trading ships that had been converted to carry people and supplies. How many? Gibson asked. At least 3 million people from 42 different human colonies, Torres said. Not all of them. Not even most of them. But enough to mean something. Are they ready? Gibson asked. Torres was quiet for a moment. No, but they will be. Diana Clark gathered everyone in the main assembly hall. The room was designed for a few hundred people, but now it held thousands, with thousands more watching on screens in other parts of the station. Clark stood on the central platform. She did not use a microphone. Her voice carried naturally through the chamber. The Galactic Council has decided that humanity is too dangerous to be trusted. They have ordered us to surrender our weapons and our freedom. We could obey. Many worlds have already chosen to do so. But we have chosen a different path. She paused, looking at the faces around her. Today, we form the Human Union Alliance. We are not part of the Galactic Council anymore. We do not answer to them. We are independent. We are free. And we will survive. The chamber erupted. People cheered. Some cried. Everyone understood that they had just stepped off a cliff. There was no way back. That night, the official charter of the Human Union Alliance was signed. It was a simple document, written in basic language so that everyone could understand it. It said that every colony was equal. Every voice mattered. And every human deserved to choose their own future. Gibson watched from the back of the assembly hall as people signed the charter. Old and young, scientists and soldiers, farmers and merchants. All of them were now part of something new, something that had never existed before. Marcus Torres appeared beside her. "We did it," he said. "We actually did it. We started something," Gibson said. "Whether we finish it remains to be seen." The next morning, Diana Clark sent a message to the Galactic Council. It was polite but firm. It explained that humanity was leaving the Galactic Council and would form its own independent alliance. It promised peaceful coexistence. But it also made clear that humanity would defend itself if attacked. The Council's response came quickly. It was a single word: acknowledged. Nothing else. No threats. No offers of negotiation. Just acknowledgement that humanity had walked away. Gibson understood what that silence meant. The Council was planning something. They were not going to simply let humanity go free. They would make an example of humanity, to show other species what happened to those who defied the Galactic Council. But humanity had time now. Not much, but enough. And in that time, Diana Clark and Rachel Gibson would do everything they could to prepare their people for what was coming next. 3 weeks after the Human Union Alliance was formed, something unexpected happened. An alien ship arrived at Sanctuary Station requesting a meeting. The ship was small, designed for speed rather than power. Its design was different from any human technology. Commander Rachel Gibson stood in the docking bay as the alien ship lowered its landing ramp. She was ready for anything. Her soldiers stood nearby, weapons ready but not drawn. An alien figure emerged from the ship. The creature was tall and thin, with skin that seemed to shimmer between green and blue. It had 4 arms and intelligent eyes that held no malice. Diana Clark stepped forward. "I am Ambassador Diana Clark. Welcome to Sanctuary Station. What species are you?" "I am called Silkwind," the creature said in surprisingly clear English. "I come from the Zereth. We wish to speak with your leaders about an arrangement that could benefit both our peoples." 2 hours later, Silkwind sat in a conference room with Clark, Gibson, and several other human leaders. On the table was a simple message. The Zereth did not like the Galactic Council either. "For 300 years, the Krell have controlled the Council," Silkwind explained. "They tell us what to do and how to live. When we disagree with their decisions, they ignore us. When we try to help other species, they call us troublemakers. The Council crushed your hopes. The Council has crushed many species. Marcus Torres leaned forward. Why come to us? We are weak. We have just started. We have very little. You have something more valuable than power, Silquin said. You have courage. You said no to the council. You chose your own path. There are others in the galaxy who would like to do the same. Over the next 2 weeks, more alien ships arrived at Sanctuary. Each one brought representatives from a different species. The Morphlings came, creatures who could change their physical form to adapt to any environment. The Quarantine arrived, a technical species that had invented most of the advanced technology used across the galaxy. The Valiants came too, a warrior culture that respected strength and honor above all else. Each species had the same story to tell. They were tired of the Galactic Council. They wanted freedom. They wanted to work with humans and other independent species to create something new. Marcus, Torres, and Kevin Park spent hours negotiating with each species. They discussed trade. They discussed mutual defense. They discussed how independent species could work together without a central authority controlling them. Dr. Elizabeth Hart worked with the Quarantine engineers. They shared technology plans. The Quarantine showed humans advanced systems for power generation and weapons. Humans showed the Quarantine their own innovations in ship design. Knowledge flowed both ways. Gibson worked with the Valiant military leaders. She learned that the Valiants respected humans because they had heard about humanity refusing to surrender to the Council. The Valiants did not understand weakness, but they understood defiance. Diana Clark worked on something larger. She began drafting agreements between the independent species. These were not contracts like the Council used. These were promises of cooperation. Each species kept its freedom. No one answered to anyone else. But when one species needed help, the others would provide it. By the 4th week, something remarkable had happened. Humanity was no longer alone. The Alliance now included 5 species, with more sending messages expressing interest. But the Galactic Council noticed. A Kata message arrived at Sanctuary Station, addressed to all the independent species. It was a council ultimatum. The Xerath, Morphlings, Quarantine, and Valiants were to immediately stop trading with humanity. They were to break all agreements with the human species. If they did not comply within 1 week, they would face sanctions. Sanctions meant their assets would be frozen. No species could trade with them. They would be isolated from galactic commerce, cut off from resources they needed to survive. Kevin Park watched as the different species held their meetings. He feared that the Council's threat would be too much. These species had lived under Council rule for hundreds of years. Fear was their natural response. But he was wrong. The Xerath announced they would not abandon humanity. Silquin delivered the message personally. We stood with you because we believe you are right. We will not abandon that belief now. The Quarantine followed. Their spokesman, a technical being named Nexus Prime, delivered a formal statement. The Council does not allow free association between species. This is wrong. We choose to trade freely with humanity and any species that wishes to work with us. The Morphlings sent a simple message. We adapt or we die. We choose to adapt and work with all of you. The Valiants challenged the Council directly. Their leader, a massive warrior named Thorn, sent a message to every space channel. Any Council ship that tries to stop trade with humanity will be opposed. We do not fear the Council. We never have. Marcus Torres watched all this happen from the trading deck. He realized that something much larger was taking place. The Council's unanimous vote against humanity had shown its control was hollow. The moment humanity refused to accept that authority, it fell apart. Get me on every human communication channel, Torres said to Kevin Park. I want to announce an open trade network. Any species that wants to trade with humans can do so. We will use hidden routes. We will use older technology that the Council's sensors cannot detect. We will survive. Over the next 3 weeks, Torres and his team created a complex network of secret trade routes. Ships moved through space using paths that avoided Council patrol zones. Resources flowed to human settlements that the Council thought were isolated. Technology moved from one species to another without the Council knowing. Diana Clark received reports that made her smile for the first time since the banishment. Sanctuary Station now had representatives from 5 independent species. Agricultural products from human colonies were being traded to the Quarantine. Technology from the Quarantine was being shared with Valian military forces. Medical discoveries from the Zereth were helping morphlings heal from old wounds. Everything was moving in multiple directions, creating value for everyone. Gibson stood on the observation deck with Silkwind, watching ships move through space. The Council taught us that they are necessary, Silkwind said. They taught us that without them, we would fail. But they were wrong. We are discovering that we work better without them. Do you think we can continue this? Gibson asked. For how long? Eventually, the Council will try to destroy us. Long enough, Silkwind said. Long enough for the galaxy to see what we have built here. Long enough for other species to realize they have a choice. And when more species join us, the Council will have no choice but to accept that they no longer control the galaxy. Gibson nodded slowly. She wanted to believe this. She wanted to think that humanity and its allies could actually change the galactic order. That night, Diana Clark sent a message to the Galactic Council. It was not an angry message. It was not a threat. It was simply a statement of fact. The Human Union Alliance and our allied species will continue to trade freely. We will continue to share knowledge and resources. We will not accept Council authority. We hope you will eventually accept that the galaxy is large enough for both our paths to exist. The Council's response never came. There was only silence, but it was a different kind of silence now. It was not the silence of control. It was the silence of a power that was beginning to realize its time was ending. The Galactic Council realized that their ultimatum had failed. The independent species refused to abandon humanity. More than that, they began publicly challenging Council authority. News spread across the galaxy about the new alliance forming outside Council control. Some species wanted to join. Others were simply curious about how a galaxy could function without the Council's central power. The Council's response was immediate and harsh. They imposed a total blockade on all human space. No ships could enter human territory. No ships could leave. The Council declared that any vessel attempting to break the blockade would be destroyed. More than that, the Council labeled the independent species as outlaws. Any trade with the Human Union Alliance was now forbidden. Any ship caught trading with humans would be seized. Any species that continued to help humanity would be cut off from all Council resources. For most species, this would have meant surrender. But the species aligned with humanity had made their choice. They did not announce this choice loudly. They simply began moving. Zereth ships, carrying supplies that humans desperately needed, moved toward human space. They used speed and clever navigation to avoid Council patrols. Some ships were caught. Their cargo was seized. But many got through. Quarantine technical specialists arrived at Sanctuary, stationed with plans for weapons that the Council did not know humans had developed. The Quarantine taught human engineers how to build advanced defensive systems quickly and efficiently. Valian warships began escorting supply ships toward human colonies. When Council ships tried to stop them, the Valians did not retreat. They held their position, making it clear they would fight if necessary. But something unexpected happened during a confrontation between Valian escorts and a Council blockade patrol. Neither side fired weapons. They simply looked at each other across space, each waiting to see who would act first. The message that came through on all communication channels was from the Krell commander of the blockade. "Stand down, Valiants. You are in violation of Council law." The Valiant response was direct. "We stand with our allies. If you attack, we attack." For 3 hours, ships hung in space, facing each other. Council ships outnumbered the Valiant escorts. But the Valiants did not move. They stood their ground. Finally, the Council ships withdrew. They did not admit defeat. They simply repositioned to a different location. But the message was clear. The Council could not destroy every independent ship without initiating a war. For the first time, the Council faced something they had never faced before. Real opposition. But the Council was not finished. They had one more plan. A message went out to a major colony called Harmony Station. Harmony Station was under Council control, home to 1 million people from 12 different species. The message was brief. If the human alliance does not disband and surrender all weapons within 24 hours, we will destroy Harmony Station. This was no threat that could be ignored or negotiated with. The Council meant it. Humanity had to make a choice. Surrender or watch 1 million innocent people die. Diana Clark called an emergency meeting of all Alliance leaders. Humans, Xerath, Morphlings, Quarantine, and Valiants all gathered at Sanctuary Station. The meeting was tense. "We could fight," Admiral William Cross said. "We could send our forces to defend Harmony Station. That will start a war with the Council," Silkwin said. "A war we might not win. If we surrender, the Council wins," Kevin Park said. All of this was for nothing. Dana Clark raised her hand. "There is a third option. We do something different. Something the Council does not expect." She explained her idea. It was risky. It might not work. But if it succeeded, it would change everything. Captain Sarah Abbott was the commander of a human battle cruiser called the Defender. She received orders to move toward Harmony Station. Her ship had weapons that could destroy Council forces. She had the firepower to make a real difference in a fight. But when Abbott arrived near Harmony Station, she did not engage the enemy. Instead, she sent a different message to the Council. "This is Captain Sarah Abbott of the Human Alliance. I am moving my ship into position to defend Harmony Station from attack. But I want to be clear. We are not here to attack you. We are here only to defend innocent life. If you choose to fire on civilians, we will oppose you. But we will not initiate aggression." The Council's response was silence. It was not what they expected. They had anticipated that humans would either surrender or fight with anger and aggression. But this was something different. This was strength with restraint. For 6 hours, the Defender hung in space near Harmony Station. Other human ships joined it. Valiant escorts positioned themselves around the civilian center. The Council had twice the firepower of this defensive force. They could destroy everything, but they did not. Finally, a message came from the highest levels of the Council. "Remove your military forces from this location or face destruction." Captain Abbott's response was calm and steady. "I will remove my forces when every person on Harmony Station is safe." That is not negotiation. That is simply what will happen. Something remarkable occurred then. The Council ships did not attack. They did not withdraw. They simply stopped moving. It was as if the Council itself was frozen, unable to decide what to do. Then news came that would change everything. A natural disaster was happening on a Council-allied world. A solar storm had struck a planet with 3 million people on it. Their communications were destroyed. Their power systems were failing. People would die unless someone helped them. Diana Clark did not hesitate. She ordered human ships to depart immediately for the damaged world. The ships left Sanctuary Station and raced toward the disaster zone. Nothing in the Human Union Alliance Charter said they had to help Council-allied species. Nothing required them to spend resources on worlds that had voted to banish them, but they did it anyway, for 3 days. Human ships worked alongside Xerath, Morphling, Quarantine, and Valiant vessels to rescue people from the dying world. They transported 3 million people to safe locations. They provided medical care. They shared food and water from their own supplies. When the rescue was complete, the humans released a statement to all galactic communication channels. The people on that world were in danger. They were our enemy, yes, but they were also our neighbors. We will not abandon anyone because of politics or old votes. This is what the Human Union Alliance believes in. This is who we are. The statement spread across the galaxy instantly. Every species saw images of human ships saving Council citizens. Every species heard about humans choosing compassion over revenge. The Council's response was unexpected. The Krell commander at Harmony Station withdrew the blockade. He sent a brief message. You have proven something today. The Council did not understand what humans are. We were wrong. Word came that the Quarantine were moving openly with human ships. The Xerath announced they were establishing permanent settlements in human space. The Morphlings released technology to help humans build better habitats. Even some Council-aligned species began sending quiet messages to the Alliance, asking if they could trade and possibly join. Diana Clark stood in the command center at Sanctuary Station and watched reports come in from across the galaxy. The galactic order was changing, not through war or conquest, but through something much more powerful. Through the realization that cooperation worked better than control. Marcus Torres appeared beside her. We did it. We actually showed them a different way to live. Clark shook her head slowly. We did not do anything except be ourselves. We fought when we had to. We showed mercy when we could. We helped people in trouble, regardless of politics. That is not remarkable. That is what humans have always done. The Council simply had never seen it before. That night, messengers from the Galactic Council sent a formal request. The Council wanted to meet with Human Union Alliance leaders, not to demand surrender, not to impose rules. They wanted to talk about a new arrangement. For the first time, humanity would not go to that meeting as a desperate species begging for acceptance. They would go as an equal power that had changed the galaxy through character instead of conquest. The next phase of history was about to begin. 6 months after humanity was banished from the Galactic Council, the Council held an emergency session. The massive chamber at Station Omega was filled with tension. The Krell sat in their elevated positions, but for the first time, they did not look certain of their power. The news from across the galaxy had been consistent. The Human Union Alliance was growing. More species were joining every week. Trade between independent species was thriving. Humans and their allies were not suffering as everyone expected. They were building something new, something that worked. Inside the council chamber, the Krell leader Vorthix stood to speak. We must address the situation with the human species and their allies. They have formed a parallel government that challenges our authority. Some of our own species are abandoning their loyalty to the council to join this new alliance. A Vexi counselor raised his hand. Perhaps we were too harsh. Perhaps the humans could return to the council under new terms. Vorthix's response was sharp. They will return when they understand that they must obey. We must take military action. We must show all species what happens to those who defy the Galactic Council. But this time, when the Krell called for a vote to authorize military action against the Alliance, something unexpected happened. Several council species abstained. They did not vote for the action. They did not vote against it. They simply did not vote. An Alterine counselor spoke up. The Krell have ruled for thousands of years without serious challenge. But perhaps this challenge shows us something we need to see. The council was built on force and control. Perhaps it is time for something different. An old tension exploded into open conflict within the council itself. Hardliners demanded aggressive action against the alliance. Moderates argued for negotiation. Younger councilors suggested that the entire council structure needed to change. The debate raged for hours. Finally, Vorthik called for a new vote. This time, the motion was simple. Should the council attempt to militarily destroy the Human Union Alliance? The vote was split. 35 for military action, 38 against. The motion failed. For the first time in galactic history, the Krull could not get their way. The council was no longer unified. The cracks in their foundation were showing. 3 weeks later, Diana Clark received a formal request. The Galactic Council wanted to meet with her. Not as a petitioner. Not as a criminal seeking amnesty. The message specifically said they wanted to meet as equals. Clark stood on the bridge of a human diplomatic ship as it entered Station Omega. She was nervous, but also certain that this moment was important. Beside her stood James Reeves, Marcus Torres, Kevin Park, and Dr. Elizabeth Hart. The entire leadership of the Human Alliance was represented. The council chamber had been reorganized. Instead of seats arranged in a hierarchy, with the Krull elevated above others, seats were now arranged in a perfect circle. Every species had equal standing. Every voice had equal weight. The new council chair was not a Krull. It was an ancient Alterine named Wisdom Speaker, who had lived for 500 years and had seen empires rise and fall. Wisdom Speaker welcomed Diana Clark formally. The Galactic Council has made many mistakes. We controlled species rather than partnering with them. We demanded obedience rather than earning respect. We lost sight of what united us and focused on what divided us. Diana Clark listened carefully. The humans showed us something we had forgotten, Wisdom Speaker continued. When faced with our threat, you did not respond with anger. You responded by building something better. You created an alliance based on choice rather than force. You helped your enemies in times of crisis. You showed us that cooperation is more powerful than control. Wisdom Speaker stood slowly, his whole body moving carefully. The Galactic Council makes an offer. Humanity can rejoin the Council as equal partners. Or, the Council and the Alliance can coexist as separate but cooperative governing bodies. The choice is yours. Diana Clark did not speak immediately. She looked at her team. They nodded slightly. We accept the first option, Clark said, but with a condition. The Council must be reformed. The old hierarchy must be dissolved. All species must have equal standing. The Council must govern through consensus, not control. If you accept these terms, humanity will rejoin. Wisdom Speaker smiled. Those are the exact terms we have already begun to implement. The Krull initially fought this change, but they have agreed to step back from power. We have already begun restructuring the Council. What followed was months of negotiation and planning. The old Galactic Council was completely reorganized. The new structure was called the Galactic Union. There was no single authority. There was a rotating leadership position that changed every year. Major decisions required agreement from a diverse group of species. Not just a powerful few. The Human Union Alliance voted to dissolve itself and become part of the new Galactic Union. But the alliance did not disappear. It became one of many partnerships within the larger structure. The Zereth maintained their close trading partnership with humanity. The Quarantines shared their technology more freely. The Morphlings and Valians became part of a larger mutual defense network that protected all species from external threats. Marginalized species that had been ignored by the old council suddenly had real power. The small traders, the technical species, the warrior cultures, even the peaceful agricultural civilizations, all had voice and influence. Marcus Torres was named as the first trade ambassador of the Galactic Union. He established economic systems that allowed all species to prosper based on what they were good at, not on what powerful species demanded. Dr. Elizabeth Hart became the lead researcher for the entire Galactic Union. She coordinated scientific work across 50 species, solving problems together that no single civilization could solve alone. Kevin Park served as a cultural liaison, working to build understanding between species that had been enemies for centuries. Rachel Gibson became commander of the Unified Defense Forces, training soldiers from every species to work together. And Diana Clark became the first speaker of the Galactic Union, chosen by all species to help guide their collective future. 1 year after the banishment that was supposed to destroy humanity, a grand ceremony was held at Station Omega. Representatives from 63 species gathered not in submission to one authority, but in partnership with each other. The ceremony was simple. No speeches about conquest or victory. Instead, each species lit a fire. Humans lit their fire. Xerath lit theirs. Quarantine, Morphlings, Valians, Alterines, Vexi, and dozens of other species all lit their fires. The flames combined into one great light that filled the chamber. Gibson and Clark stood together, watching the ceremony. For the first time in months, Clark allowed herself to truly relax. "We did it," Gibson said. "No," Clark replied. "They did it. All of them. We just refused to surrender. We just built something better instead of trying to destroy them. We showed them there was another way." That night, as the celebration continued, the first ship of the new era launched from Earth. It was a colony ship, heading toward unexplored space beyond the Galactic Council's traditional boundaries. Its hull was marked with the insignia of the Galactic Union, a circle with no top or bottom, showing that all were equal. On the ship were humans, Quarantine engineers, Xerath agriculturalists, Morphling adapters, and Valiant defenders. For the first time in galactic history, a settlement was being built by species choosing to work together, not by one species dominating others. The journey would take 5 years. During that time, the new colony would be built on principles of true cooperation. Each species would contribute. Each species would benefit equally. The settlement would have a government where every species had equal say in decisions. When the ship arrived at its destination, it began establishing a station in orbit and a city on the planet below. The humans called it New Haven. The Xerath called it Harmony World. The Quarantine called it Unity Station. But every species understood the real name, the beginning of a new galactic civilization. News of the success spread across the galaxy. More species asked to join the Galactic Union. More colonies were established using the same principles. The structure that had been ruled by a few for thousands of years was transformed into something that served the many. The Crow, for the first time, were simply one species among many. Some adapted to this change quickly. Others struggled with their loss of power. But gradually, they learned that being equal to other species was not weakness. It was freedom. Diana Clark stood in her office at Station Omega, looking at reports from across the galaxy. Humans were thriving. The alliance that had been born from desperation had become the Dion's foundation of something better. She thought about the moment when they had been banished. She remembered thinking that everything was lost. But humanity had proven something fundamental. When faced with injustice, when facing overwhelming odds, humans do not simply surrender. They find another way. They build. They cooperate. They show courage not just through weapons, but through character. And sometimes, when one group of people stands up and says no to control and yes to freedom, it inspires others to do the same. Sometimes, the bravest thing a species can do is choose mercy over revenge, cooperation over conquest, and equality over dominance. the Galactic Council that had banished humanity had hoped to break them. Instead,